and go deep into. And what needs to be done is dug into the deepness of what Olaf was just sharing and showing, and these bastion walls, what I have dubbed and called the Great Wall of Tartaria, which it is, okay? This, oops, wrong button, but we're going to get there here together. We're doing it together, doing it together, doing it together. That's what happens. I start singing a little jingle at 7:23 in the morning. It's far past my bedtime. I start a new job tomorrow on Thursday, which is great. But this episode is 3 days in the making. That's how much time I put into the resources of going out and finding the pictures and the sources and organizing it. But here we go. Look at the length of just one of these segments and how deep do they go. Most likely 3, 4, 5 stories deep, I would imagine, as they're often at least 2 to 3 stories above ground with 2 to 3 stories below ground in every single starfort. And here we go. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, look at this. This is a 2-story, 3-story cathedral right here. See, on top of another 2-story castle. Okay, it's 5 stories on top of this bastion castle. Okay, the battery castle. Like, look at these. These are townhomes that are 2 stories, maybe 3 stories tall themselves, each one of those. All right, so look at that. And then this is rockers, those houses as well. Wow, look at that. That's houses on houses, is it? Crazy. I'm so No, those are walls. That's castle. That's megalithic wall. Like, that's just castle. Look at all this castle. Like, the scope and the size of this is absolutely insane. This being this famous Portuguese one, and the terraforming to make this. Who did this? Not people with horseback and buggy, okay? That they did not make this. Like, I'm sorry. They did not make this either. People that supposedly didn't even have the balloon. How did they survey this? Why did they make it? How did they make it so perfect? We don't make these intricate, this perfect today anymore. We can't even, I doubt. This one as well. It's actually castle, starforts, and castles all within it. Quite crazy. Look at that. Those are apartments. What look like apartments. Look at that. That's a little cathedral right here. 2-story cathedral. It's just nuts. Like, how? Why? We can't even maintain them today. They're all falling apart today. Just gross stuff. They try to bury them. And like, look at this. So just random in the desert. This one maybe in Bahrain or Tajikistan somewhere. Maybe this one actually even in Arizona or New Mexico. Could be any of them, but chances are that's 4 or 5 stories, maybe 20 stories below if they're the same size, each one of them, right? It's nuts, the actual scope of these things. And there's tens of thousands of them. who built them and why. So yeah, here we go. This little this freaking 3-story cathedral on a 3-story castle on another 3-story castle. That's 9 stories on what, another 3 or 10-story freaking battery. That's on another freaking 3 or 10-story battery. That's on another layer of 3 to 10-story. Like, it's just the scale is absolutely insane. It's mind-boggling. Who had the resources to do this and why? I don't buy it. Like, I just don't buy it. Like, that should all have moat water in it, but you know, we can't even maintain these things today. Let alone build them. Right? Barely maintaining one of these ones. Oops. So, but look at this. None of the moats, none of the canals, sorry, have water running in them. So half of it's not even maintained, all overgrown. Barely, like the outer ring, you can see this is abandoned. So this whole structure probably is 3 to 10 stories deep, going all the way out to these bastions and dry canals and stuff. It's just, these are megascope things. Like, look at that. This is absolutely insane in scope and size and the amount of terraformed earth required. So here we go. Look at this bastion one. And oh, it's just a little battery. Oh no, they made it out of brick, just a little bit. No, look at this. This is a 4-story castle. This is a 4-story castle right here, ladies and gentlemen. So for scope, who the heck built? Oh, just a 4-story castle? No. This freaking, what is this? This has got to be 4 or 5 stories tall, same as this castle. And then down another 4 or 5 stories. Like, it's just, and these are the basics. This is just the basic one. You've seen the ones that go like 4. This is in Poland again. Like, it's the shape of magnetron. They call it a keyhole, but magnetron, potentially focusing energy, like potentially. Is that what this battery's doing? Charging up, firing all out. The sun and the moon charging it, I think astrologically, that makes sense. I see, but they're missing the water, right? It's all about the water. Like, who made these? They're documenting this. They're not building it. Look at this. We can't even maintain it today. It's abandoned. People can't even live in it. It's just, it's so much. It's crazy. Like the groundskeeper's house right here. This is the person that like manages the property. Like the alcoholic uncle that like survived the war. You know, like the person that lives today. That's their house. They it's like you know what I'm saying? It's just forgive me for the Polish drunk uncle reference. Is this a nuclear reactor? Like what is this? What, you know, like your freaking torsion field reactor, maybe? I don't know. Scalar reactor. What are these things? They're nuts. Look at these fractal ray antenna. Waveguide gen. Like, it's just The scope blows my mind every time. Literally thousands of them. So this one though, right? Look at the amount of terraforming. Like they had to make this mountain. How did they do that? And to tie it back to Nan Madol, this is looking pretty Nan Madoli right here. If I don't say myself, pretty Nan Madoli. And that is our word of the day, Nan Madoli.
And the fact that there's basically no historical information for most of these structures, and what does exist is, well, quite speculative at best. It does
right?
one wonder.
So this wall, the giant wall that I'm calling the Great Wall of Tartaria that Olaf the Fricker was showing there, and let's see if I got a picture up of it quick here. This one right here that spans from the Sea of Azov in Crimea in the Black Sea all the way through Ukraine, through the Donbass, through Siberia to the current Russian Arctic or Siberian Arctic, used to known as the Sea of Tartaria, and like, wow, look at the size of this. It's way bigger than the Great Wall of China. It's probably several stories deep buried, complete uniform, and there's a StarFort, one of those batteries, every one of these guys every like kilometer or mile or so along the thousands of miles that it goes. No history of it whatsoever. Yet, so this book is 1500s. So the 1500s they're talking about.
What? I just realized the obvious answer to my earlier statement, and something that I've been wondering forever, which is why are these things never talked about? Well, here's the thing. We only are taught about cultures that still exist, have stemmed from cultures that still exist, and are connected to them. The Great Pyramids are still connected to the modern Egyptian culture, who claims that they have the history for them, even though we know that ancient Kemet was extending far back before the modern Egyptian Historical Society would like people to believe, and that these structures were built far before the timestamps that they would like to place on them, right? So, but they're still connected to it. So we know about the Great Pyramids at Giza and the various other structures across Egypt because there's an advantage for the culture. But how could we hear about Tartaria and who's going to promote it if the entire culture, the entire society of what was left over is gone? There's nobody to promote it. There's nobody to make money from it. It's not a tourist attraction anymore because nobody's, collecting ticket prices, right? So there's nobody to tell the story, right? And that could explain exactly why history is told by the victors, as they say, well, if the Tartarians effectively have split up and divided and, been distributed about the world, taking their culture, their knowledge, and their information with them, hence why we see the same symbology and the same types of architecture spread throughout such a wide distance. They clearly knew how to travel. They got around. But something must have happened where they really spread out. And so maybe there was just nobody left to tell the story. Maybe they were too busy surviving after something horrible happened to worry about trying to maintain history.
Right? Absolutely. It's the only thing that makes sense because, like, on the scale of what is left, because these are brick or like block more likely, and one surviving one that these used to be cityscape things. It's the scale is just
the one thing that I would love to separate is the whole mud flood concept with Tartaria. They've become synonymous and associated with each other in the community.
See, with mud flood, what I think is like, okay, so just like lahars from volcanoes, tsunamis, floods, like actual, like what we see now, like hurricanes, like these atmospheric river things, just crazy amounts of waters, or
my main point to bringing
that
up was that A lot of people think that Tartaria ended with the mud floods, but really those were a lot more recent, and we know that they were because the structures affected are a lot more recent. And these older StarForts, I mean, I don't have the data for some of the dating on these materials, or if there was even any possible way to realistically check and see how old they were. But I suppose we would have to find artifacts or natural materials within the structures or somewhere on the site that were buried, like pieces of wood or whatnot, where we could actually carbon date them from nature, because any stones that were moved are still going to contain incorrect information. So we're going to get an incorrect dating method. We needed something that was living and growing and consuming resources from the earth at that time to do any kind of correct dating methods. But provided that we could find those types of things that were preserved from around the same time as those forts were built, I don't know, maybe little pieces of material within the structure itself, just things that happen to find their way into there, maybe a little piece of wood, somewhere within, like, the brick or the cement or whatever they used. Maybe we could find out how old they actually were. And that would really tell us a lot of information as far as, what could have happened and maybe how long ago it was.
Yeah, like, so the supposed, a lot of the battery ones that they find in America, like, always this size, always that shape, and the ones buried in the U.S. or that remain like these, that when they try to claim where the bricks come, they're like, oh, they shipped them over from England.
Wow.
It's like, what? Like, okay, so on sailboats, they ship billions of bricks. Like, no, they didn't. It's insane. It's insane what they claim.
Yes, it is. And speaking of insane, I'll just throw this out there for anybody listening. If you or a friend happens to have a whole bunch of those little radioactive elements from the inside of fire detectors, fire alarms, they contain Americanium-241. I'm looking for about 30 of those. So, pass it along. Not like anybody in the audience is probably going to know somebody that does, but if so, yes, I'm quite willing to pay shipping on that and compensate a bit for it.
So you need 30 iridium thingies from fire detector thingies.
Yeah, I need the Americanium. It's
Americanium, sorry.
So basically, it's tossing out continuously high energy electrons, and if they happen to get blocked, then the detection of the inside of the fire detector will notice a difference in the voltage, and it will identify that as, hey, there's smoke, or there's some kind of thing that's going on because of a fire, right? So those radioactive sources are synthetic, man-made. They last about 20-year half-life, I think they are. And anyways, because they're great electron sources and they're a metallic conductor, I can utilize them in a particular device that I'm working on. And they'll be an ideal source of emission as a cold cathode. Let's just say it has to do with warping space-time.
I feel, yeah, I see that. I wouldn't doubt that anything you ever ask for that you're looking for with a high priority does not have to do with trying to get to warp space-time, my friends. That is your mission, your life goal, and I can't wait till the day that we're riding that warped waves and portals and whatever way we figure out, or you figure out to get her done. And we'll have some fun. And were these guys doing it? Like, why? There must have been a reason that's pointing these arrows as directions from above, maybe. Like, keep going this way, keep going that way.
Beyond what certain subsets of alleged Tartarian culture could have discovered about utilizing natural electrical energy, there's one thing that needs to be pointed out about these structures, and it's that they utilized nature around them, and their locations were specifically chosen to make maximum utilization of the natural resources, right?